Sure, I can.
Recording is on.
We shared the agenda for today's DXbiz call. We, yeah, we were missing Elon today for some sad news, but we normally start with his chit chat, and then we'll do member intros. We have one new member here today. We don't have a presenter for a presenting and project or company for a first time in a while. And then we have some immediate discussions around, with upcoming events. We have a potential idea around Carrot and teaming up with Witnet. And then we're also working on what could be a DXDAO event in Paris, but it wouldn't be a DXDAO event. It would be a co-organized event in Paris. And then separately, there's a squad that's focused on the hackathon in Bogota, and and then there's a proposal in the forum about DoinGud, which is a follow-up on their team joining the call a week or two ago. So we will start with new member intros. We have Sizzle here. If you would thanks for having your camera on, and so we can put a face to your name. And if you could just introduce yourself, give some background, just so we can become familiar, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. So my name is Sizzle. It's a Danish name, so that's why it's pronounced more like sizzling bacon. I was kind of brought in here by Melanie. I met her in Denver and have been talking to her about contributing to DXDAO. My background is I've done a lot of things in the space, but the past 9 months I've been attempting to build a company on my own with limited success and been contributing to DAOs. So basically, before that, I was a technical project manager and product manager at Everledger. Everledger is like supply chain transparency. And before that, I worked at the Deloitte blockchain lab. So Deloitte had a lab that was in charge of all of the EMEA region, and I worked on our marketing and events and also servicing clients there. So what Melanie and I have just been talking about is checking out whether I could be contributing on the events management side or strategic partnerships, which is something that I just have a lot of experience in.
Cool, thanks.
And I'm based in London, by the way.
Based in London, nice. And so you traveled over for ETH Denver. Did you have fun there?
Yeah, I mean, I've been living the full Degen life the past 6 months. So I did ETH Denver, ETH Rio, and ETH Amsterdam.
Oh wow! And what's your next one? Maybe we'll get to meet you in person.
Maybe Paris, I think. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But I think Denver was amazing. It was just by far the best quality of builders for sure.
Nice. Is Zet here? Yeah, Zet, maybe we didn't get to catch up on this. So the next topic, we've been discussing after we did the Carrot campaign in Amsterdam, we've been discussing whether there is a Carrot campaign that would be interesting to do during ETHCC time or in ETH Paris. And obviously this platform has, is fully very, very broad and has the ability to, we could incentivize lots of different things. We're a little curious on timing of if we think Carrot V1 will be operational or semi-operational by the time we get to Paris, because Witnet, we had a call with Witnet, and they are planning to do a new version of their A game, which they've been progressing and coming up with new ideas around. It's had success at a couple different in-person events in the Ethereum space, and they have a plan to go big in Paris. And Rev, who is also connected to Atlantis World, is very familiar with Carrot. We were discussing, some of the goals of their game, and then how how Carrot could theoretically be used to kind of go in parallel to that game or build on top of their game, and capture the attention of everyone that's playing their game, but have this side incentive via Carrot mechanism to really help this game succeed. And if success in their game is to like make more connections among different people by learning about and scanning and learning about each other's web profile and backgrounds and things, that's kind of what the goal of that game is. And if Carrot could add some mechanism that like targets the goals of improving that game even more than it already was going to do. And so there's some ideas around using NFTs, which I think would be more relevant to Carrot V1, or there's ideas around layering Carrot onto and getting Carrot tokens with some incentive in the hands of the people that are actually playing the game. So at the time that someone scans their or picks up their like the things necessary to start playing the game, they also get carrots into a wallet of theirs, and then they have that carrot goal in parallel to the game. I don't know, Nathan, was there anything else on that you wanted to, or were you on the call? Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah. Basically, they were saying that they will lead the dev effort, and we could think of a way to showcase Carrot, that they'll basically be using our product to spice up their campaign, and we have to benefit from that without doing much. We also mentioned like using Nimi in the mix, but it kind of felt like it's a bit too much and it could be a bit confusing to users. So we're going to stick with Witnet and Carrot.
Yeah, well, so one of the interesting things is they're making progressions on their game as a game themselves. And one of the things they specifically wanted to add probably to their game is like, while you're scanning each other's eggs and you're meeting people, you have this waiting period, and this waiting period is an opportunity for you to exchange contact information or your Twitter profile, or maybe your Nimi profile, something very social with the people that you are playing this game with. So theoretically, Nimi could fit into that. We weren't really representing Nimi that well because we didn't have all the background and where we think it would be, but we mentioned the idea of Nimi and how it fits into like Web3 profiles, and they were very interested in that. And Rev is also familiar with Nimi from Amsterdam. So there's a possibility to also add like a Nimi profile, if it existed like properly, into that social exchange of information when you're playing this game. So theoretically you could, the question is, what would we want to incentivize in this game? How we want to use Carrot? What funding or NFT rewards or something would we want to use to promote that incentive and help it get achieved? And so, the question is, if there was going to be a big cost to this also, is that something that DXDAO would like to front the cost of, if it is growing the awareness of Carrot? And it's also, in Amsterdam, we had a goal to really grow the awareness of DXDAO, and we used Carrot for that. So people got awareness of Carrot, but they also were getting a bigger awareness of DXDAO, and that was the money that DXDAO was willing to put behind that initiative. And in this case, we'd be highlighting Carrot into this community that's going to be in Paris, but there's like the thing that's it's not necessarily benefiting DXDAO, it's benefiting maybe this Witnet game, but then also growing the awareness of Carrot. So there's a lot of moving parts there. We could do this in a very light scale, like on top of what they are already doing. Or if we had ideas, we could bring those ideas to the Witnet team and they could potentially embed some of those ideas into the actual game experience. But I don't know if anyone has any thoughts about this. Is that I know you and Keenan were big players of the game, and you also proposed kind of connecting with Witnet. I was wondering if there was like a specific idea that you had in mind for either Nimi or Carrot or Witnet that we would want to like pursue.
So let's maybe talk why we should have talked to Witnet, maybe even before. So I think, first of all, the whole deal about everyone having swag on the conference is a great thing, right? But let's be honest here, it's too much swag. We're throwing away a bunch of stuff each time we go there. Even like you can't even take with you. Even if you like the things, you can't take everything with you, right? And it's just getting worse and worse, to be honest. And we're part of it, right? We do swag, we do cool stuff. Even if you do cool stuff, I think it's not personal if people throw away your stuff, right? And I just began to think about, is anyone doing anything different or unique? And I think like Witnet is always doing something really, really unique. Every time we are on a conference, they're there and they actually put a lot of effort doing something that doesn't feel Web 2. Actually feels Web 3, actually feels like it's not even close to what they're doing with their product, just do cool stuff. And I think the trend should be what Witnet is doing. I think DXDAO should not go on this road of just doing swag and do cool stuff, do expensive stuff, bad for environment, and etc. etc. And Dirk has experience in like augmented reality stuff and games and stuff like that. So yeah, I thought, hey, we do have some interest. We know a company that already does stuff. Let's sync with them. Like, do they need help? Can we do something with them? Can we get help from them? Like, they already done a bunch of campaigns. I think Carrot was really cool. It was really fun. We got a lot of praise for Carrot. Even though the campaign, I would say the campaign was successful. We talked with a lot of people, and we got, I think, a few followers. But the idea was actually get Carrot, the name out and what it does, and explain how it works. So in that sense, it was successful. Yeah, just going away from swag more and more, do more interactive stuff, demo our stuff, grow the awareness, grow followers, or whatever it is. So in my mind, whatever that is not swag is a good thing, even if we try something totally different or new.
Can I ask a question? So, sorry, I didn't disclose this, but I've actually been working with Atlantis World for a bit. So I was trying to kind of get their product a bit more sharp, or however you can say it. What's the objective of this collaboration? Because I'm just wondering, like, whether the product is mature enough for what you'd like to get out of this kind of partnership.
I mean, awareness is a good thing, right? Just being aware of a product or name could be enough. Obviously, if there's a task, like when we did the Carrot campaign, we had a task that actually explained how Carrot works. So it's just not just like awareness of the brand, it's also awareness of what this product does.
So did you have that as a quest within Atlantis World, or was that like a different kind of?
No, we did the campaign by ourselves with Carrot. Witnet does different things every time they do a conference. They do games, they do interactive stuff.
So just my 2 cents, I think it's a really, like, I completely get you with the whole swag thing, and I think it's a big environmental waste. My only thing would be that, I mean, the game as it is right now is not really a game yet. So I would just kind of, I don't know if any of you have played the alpha or whatnot, but I would just maybe do that before you decide if it lives up to that kind of like exposure that you want.
Okay. Do they do anything? Will Atlantis World be on conferences? Do anything interactive with the visitors?
So that's kind of like one of the things I proposed was that for ETH Amsterdam, that they develop like a quest. So essentially, like, let's say instead of giving out, swag, you could have a POAP, you scan that POAP, and you have that POAP, you have access, and then in the game, you could find an asset. You could find a non-player character, you could collect an in-game asset that could be, let's say, DXDAO t-shirt or whatnot. The only thing I think this was really fun and it's something that we steer towards, but I just don't know if they're at a product maturity where they can support that right now. So I would just be really specific with like aligning expectations with them to make sure that like what you want built could actually be built by then, because it's still like what's in a month's time.
Yeah. Until Paris, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to show you guys. I have access to alpha. I'm happy to show you guys if you're unfamiliar with what's currently built after this call or something.
Yeah. So Sizzle, you're mainly talking about Atlantis World, like
the
experience in the game. Yeah. So we also DXDAO has a home in Atlantis World. We've been waiting. Yeah, we're still waiting for like a couple of our products to like be able to be used in there and agree that their like overall experience of being able to place that people can hang out in and stuff is not really there yet. It's a little slower than I think their timeline was expecting. They actually we actually used Carrot tokens in the investment grant that DXDAO gave to Atlantis World to like like other DeFi projects that gave grants to get bases and their products involved. We actually used Carrot, and unfortunately the portion that was which had a conditional payout was whether or not the 3 deliverables were going to be met by April 15th. Those didn't happen actually. So we're still waiting on that. But the game that we're talking about, like with Witnet, which obviously Rev's connected to both, I think they're different companies, is this egg game. Did you ever get to play the egg scanning game in like Lisbon? I think it was in Paris originally, right? Is it inside Atlantis or is it a separate? No, it's not in Atlantis World. It's like you have a physical egg around your neck and you go around and scan it with each other, and then you basically make connections with people.
Oh yeah, they had a similar thing in Denver as well. Yeah, I tried that.
Yeah. So the one in Denver apparently, I guess, didn't get as much attention. The one in Lisbon, which Zet, I think maybe won, was very, very popular. And so that is what Witnet is planning to do again in Paris. And they were like a longtime sponsor of ETHCC and stuff. And so they're planning to go like, I guess, really big with this new version of this scanning game. Yeah, this is this egg game, in Paris. And we're because we are very close with them, we're trying to think like, is there something we could use for Carrot to like help their game succeed even more, plus get everyone that's playing their game aware of what Carrot is by giving them some Carrot token that has a special incentive or condition that if that is reached, you actually get like additional money or you get an additional special NFT or something. So one of the things that's cool is we talked about is like just like DeFi building blocks, like if they just make their Carrot, their egg game and they do it, DXDAO can like build an incentive layer on top of it without even their permission. We'd obviously like to do it with them because then it would be even better. But like we could incentivize anything we want. The difference here
between them, are you saying Atlantis or are you saying
Witnet?
Okay.
Yeah. Witnet. Yeah. I don't think I'm not sure if there was something with Atlantis World in this scenario, but really, we're talking about this Witnet.
Yeah, game. Okay. I have limited experience with that. I think it's a good idea in general to do those kind of digital incentives rather than swag. It was just more a general observation that like if you do something with Atlantis, I would just be sure that the scope of what they need to build is really clear and that is realistic, because I think they're still a small startup. So Yeah, it's just my thoughts.
Totally.
Sky,
yes,
you had mentioned, sorry, I just wanted to follow up on what you were mentioning, Carrot V1 at the beginning. So the plan with Carrot V1 on the smart contract side is the first to do 2 audits. The first one should be starting very shortly and would be done ahead of Paris. The second one probably would be going on during the Paris week. But if it was like a limited amount of funds, I think that would probably be fine to utilize it. I mean, that said, the UI has not been developed at all around like Carrot V1, but it does at the smart contract level offer, the ability to use multiple collateral to like plug in potentially different oracles, and you can also weight the conditions, like so that you could have multiple conditions and actually have one condition weigh what the reward is more than the other. So I don't know if that's something of interest there. Like that's probably available, but yeah, like the front end's not like developed around that yet. So I guess yeah, that's just
okay. That's good to know. So like if we're going to do something with Carrot in Paris connected to Witnet game or another, if someone had another idea, it would probably look a lot like the one we did in Amsterdam, which is keep things simple. Maybe there is something with NFT if we wanted to experiment with that, but we probably want to keep it relatively simple, and the campaign would probably show on like the current UI that is the regular.
I think that makes most sense because 5 weeks is not that far away, and I'm sure there are going to be other considerations to like deploying, like getting Carrot V1 to actually work in some kind of actual live campaign. And yeah, like one of the cool things about V1 is this ability to add different templates in terms of like what the rewards will be. Like you could potentially have NFTs, etc. But the only type of campaign that's going to be audited like from the beginning will be an ERC20 version, right? So like the NFTs and stuff, that's a possibility, but we don't have like a working template that is even ready for audit at this point for that stuff.
Okay, so we'll keep the version we used in Amsterdam as like the one in our minds when we're coming up with a potential idea for now.
Yeah, for Paris, I think that makes most sense.
Cool. Anyway, yeah. So if you have any additional thoughts or ideas around that, and let's form that, and we can either share those. Yeah, we can propose those to Witnet, or we can, if it's something. For me, the one big thing was if we were going to spend, let's say, 20 grand of like potential reward on this. In Amsterdam, we were willing to spend 50K because if we actually got 50 followers of DXDAO, like the DAO was willing to spend that money. In this scenario, the cost, if let's say if it paid out full, would really be a cost for like getting people to use and growing the awareness of Carrot. And it's like helping like this game succeed, but it's not like getting DXDAO. It's not the secondary effect is not, or the first effect is not a goal specifically targeting a value add to DXDAO other than awareness of Carrot. So that would be another decision on whether or not to spend that cost. Okay, so then the next thing for the Paris week.
Just sorry, Sky. Before we move on, I have an idea. What if we created a campaign using Carrot to incentivize people participating in the Witnet egg game to popularize it, and in a way market Carrot as a product that could help organizations with their marketing campaigns? For example, if Witnet did their campaign and game on their own, they would rely on their own on popularizing it. But if we say locked $5,000 in Carrot and told everyone that if they retweet a specific tweet, say on the Witnet Twitter handle, if that tweet reaches, say, 1,000 retweets, the carrot will pay out. And so every time they scan an egg, they will get carrots that can potentially pay out. And they would be asking people to retweet that tweet.
Yeah, so putting Carrot out there as a great platform for improving your marketing goals, no matter what those goals are. I think that's a great use case for Carrot, for sure. Is like Twitter reach. Like the hardest thing with Carrot is always coming up with the goal. Like if it's, could this tweet have a reach of X, and can that be measured by the oracles of reality.eth? If it's like retweets, that's public, right? If it's reach, like impressions, I don't think that's public, right? We need a Twitter expert here. But yeah, we can think more about that. It's a good idea. Yeah, so let's move to this next thing for Paris. Is we've been thinking about a smart, good event that DXDAO could do in Paris. And one idea was to team up with Gnosis chain. Nathan, you wrote ETHVC? Did you mean ETHVC or ETHCC?
ETHCC, yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, we wanted to do maybe a co-event, kind of a happy hour, but maybe have some talks, like, or some breakout areas at this event or this venue. And we've been talking to Gnosis chain team about this. They liked the idea. They were already planning something, had ideas for something very similar. They came back and they mentioned that, they love that DXDAO is a big part of Gnosis chain. They really kind of want an event that is showcasing the Gnosis chain ecosystem. And so that's this kind of title that we're using, which is kind of what they did in Amsterdam with some partners as well. But it's really like a Gnosis chain ecosystem event. And it's to anyone that's interested in Gnosis chain or what's happening on Gnosis chain or the things that DXDAO might be doing on Gnosis chain, would be interested in this event. And so that Gnosis chain would be probably like the lead organizer of this event. And then DXDAO would be a co or a support organizer, and then potentially one or two other projects that are also interested in the Gnosis chain ecosystem could potentially get involved. And so this wouldn't necessarily be a DXDAO mainly run event. This would be a Gnosis chain ecosystem event, and DXDAO would be a key participant and organizer, co-organizer of it. It's a little bit like Augusto's framing of like the DXhackathon. Like there's the lead organizer, and then there's like a few co-organizers. And so DXDAO hasn't done something like that in the past. We've obviously sponsored different things in the past, but we've never done we had our own events, and we've sponsored other events, but this would be a unique kind of smaller event where, not smaller event, but DXDAO would participate as a co-organizer in a Gnosis ecosystem event. And there's a venue that Nathan's mentioning that's like on the water. It's about 15 minutes from the ETHCC event space. And the idea, the day that people were looking at is that the afternoon into evening of July 20th, which is that Wednesday, right in the middle of the week. And so we could put up a forum post about it. If there's any initial thoughts or feedback on if people think this is a good or bad idea, we would contribute some money towards the cost. It's obviously we wouldn't be the lead payer of this thing. It would, yeah.
Can I ask a question? What's the main like objectives of ETHCC? Like, have you thought about as a team what you'd like to get out of ETHCC?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we've been doing analysis, and we don't have all the details, but like one of the ways that DXDAO is getting more awareness and actually you're probably a good example of it being at these events and participating, either being sponsoring and participating in the actual events like we did at ETH Denver, or having contributors around during these events, and speaking with people and recruiting people and sharing ideas about products, and in Amsterdam handing out the carrot campaigns and things like that. That's like one of the main ways that DXDAO is growing awareness of the DAO itself plus the products. And so in Paris, we are not sponsoring. DXDAO isn't sponsoring anything. It's not really, might not have that much of a presence of people at ECC, but there's a handful of contributors that are probably going to be in Paris during the week. And one of the best events that we did in Denver was our happy hour, where we invited everyone that we wanted to speak with to a certain place at a certain time. And it was very efficient use of spend. And so we were talking about, should we have a happy hour like that in Paris? And that's where this idea kind of expanded to, if we did that type of happy hour, could we team up with a couple other people to have a place where we could invite everyone that's in Paris that we want to speak with and connect with to one place at the same time. And so we could either do that on our own and, compete against everyone else that's also doing that, or could we team up with one or two other key parties in the space and create this with those people. And so I guess if this idea of this co-event would be the main thing that DXDAO would be publicly participating in Paris. And it would also be the place that it would almost be like DXDAO's happy hour. Anyone that DXDAO or contributors want to connect with and talk with, we would invite them to this specific event. And this event would be a happy hour that is pretty sizable, but then also if we have these breakout corners of this event, it would give DXDAO an opportunity to specifically talk about, but not present, but more lead a discussion with who's ever interested in the certain topic. And maybe that would be around one of DXDAO's products or decentralization or governance or something. And so it's a way for DXDAO to have an event in Paris without solely throwing a giant expensive thing on its own, and being able to attract all the interested parties and new people that maybe we could become builders and things like that in the DXDAO ecosystem. So that's the way I was thinking about the goal of having some event in Paris. But other people
it makes a lot of sense. I guess just like my 2 cents would just be, it makes a lot of sense to team up with them. I would just check which day the event is, and like if it's like at the same time as some other like really key events, just because people are quite strategic with like when they place their events. But no, it sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, so this date in the afternoon is specifically, it's not it's a little, what's the word, sneaky, but there's a lot of people that are going to be in Paris that actually don't have ECC tickets. Yeah. So this event is actually at the end of the day on the Wednesday, and there's not much other planned yet according to the public schedule, and that always gets loaded later. So this is already on the earlier side, getting this event out there. But people that either don't have ECC tickets would be able to come to this, or people that have ECC tickets, but by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they're ready to go out onto the river and go to a happy hour or something, they could also attend this. So that time from like 4 to 8 on that Wednesday is a is a pretty good target from what I can tell in terms of a time.
I think you're right, because in every group I'm in, people are like offering to pay double price for tickets and stuff. So I think it's heavily oversubscribed right now.
Yeah, I mean, most people don't have ECC tickets, and so this is almost like putting it the afternoon in the middle of ECC is kind of a way to like do something for everyone that doesn't have ECC tickets. Plus, even if you have ECC tickets, you can still come to this event. So, kind of cool.
Yeah, I guess, and if you want to do more things, the one thing that I really liked about Breckenridge was like it was quite clever of Harmony, but they arranged breakfasts, and it's like not that many people do that. So it's a really good way to like stand out from the crowd, because people are like, oh, whatever, I'm not going to an event, I can just go to breakfast. But no, I think this one is a great one.
Yeah, what we have, like as John says, what we have learned is what DXDAO doesn't want to do is things at nightclubs with really loud music. Like those events are maybe fun for some people, but they're the least effective for talking with the people that you want to talk to and that you can invite to this event where you want to talk to them. So that's one thing we have learned. But cool. Is there anything about DXHack? Maybe John or Augusto's not here, I don't think, that want to give an update. There's some urgency, I think, this week, maybe, right?
Yeah, I can give an update since Augusto is not here. I think the thing to report from last week is we had a call with Open Zeppelin, and they, it seemed promising. I guess I don't want to say too much because it's a recorded call. I'm not sure what they want to keep, like what they're comfortable disclosing. But I would say it seemed promising in terms of the potential for something to happen with Open Zeppelin. So we're looking to try to continue that conversation, because I think they would make a great partner for the event. I mean, they have a great name brand, especially when it pertains to like open source development, right? And they're also from Argentina, so being in South America, it seems like a great place to partner with them. And so, yeah, that's the main thing. There's a proposal right now that is funding the down payment on the event space. So looking to do that as soon as we can so that we can secure the space, which we feel is like a good space at a good time. I think it was really the only one that kind of met our criteria that the lateral group was able to identify. So there is some urgency there. I think we're just trying to kind of balance, potential feedback from Open Zeppelin with like the dates that we have, because we feel good about those dates. They're right before the main conference event, and we think that's attractive because it's a 4-day conference that we know is going to be exhausting. And, at least my feeling, and some people I've talked to, is that the idea of doing anything after DEF CON that would involve like effort or like energy is a little bit daunting at this point. So we think like that weekend right before is probably the prime time to do it. The downside with those dates, for those who have been paying attention, is ETH Global is hosting their hackathon at the same time, and obviously they're like the main hackathon sponsor in the Ethereum community. They'd be tough to compete with, but with the right partners, I think, at least from my perspective, I think we're still could be in a really good spot, and it could be more of a small kind of bespoke hackathon to complement the larger ETH Global one. Some of us were at the one in Amsterdam, ETH Global. They put on, it was an amazing event in like that amazing space that the EF had for the co-working space, for I'm going to not pronounce it right, but that old trading space. And I think similarly, they're going to have an awesome space in Bogota. And I think they're going to even try to be even bigger than they were in Amsterdam, which was already the biggest one they'd ever done with, I forget, like several hundreds of hackers. So I think it might be this opportunity to complement what they're doing with something that's a little more focused, a little more intimate. But yeah, it's not ideal to be competing with them on the time frame. But I think, again, with like Open Zeppelin or like the right types of partners, we'd still be in a pretty good spot.
Cool. Yeah, like clearly this, the DXbiz call in the last, today and in this current time looks a little bit more like a DXDAO events call. Part of that is because these ideas for these events and where DXDAO should show up and related to growing awareness of DXDAO and stuff, these discussions do happen, among the different squads. Like it's also related to DX Voice and what DX Voice needs to do to plan this. And then we have a newly formed squad focused specifically on Bogota, because that's it needs to be, there's a lot of organization that goes behind it. But all of these things basically need to be out in a public, forum. These posts, there are posts about this in the forum, but this call gives people an opportunity to share ideas and thoughts and benefits and negatives of all these events and things, and gauge whether or not the community thinks, these things are, should move ahead or should not move ahead and things like that. And so I think it's important to just have this public call where these things are discussed, to give people a chance to show up and share their views. And then I guess the last, was there something about the Taoist that anyone wanted to share? Melanie or anyone else?
Yeah, so the Dallas is actually going to be holding an event in Bogota. They haven't really released any dates or just given out any details, but I did speak briefly with Inga, and they're planning on having an event in Bogota.
Hopefully it's not the weekend before DEF CON.
No, it'll probably be the weekend after.
Well, we won't be there after either, will we?
Well, they're probably going to do it. So they're thinking the 15th, 16th. And then I guess the plan for us is for us to go and head out on the 17th for our retreat. So I don't think that it should be a conflict. I've already expressed to them when our retreat was and that we want to be in attendance. So more to come soon on that. And then I also did want to chime in about the hackathon, and of course, I'm completely supportive of the hackathon, but I think that it's important that we, are organized, have excellent marketing around this event. I attended the Graph hack over the weekend, and it was really well organized, really well funded event. Unfortunately, they didn't have, high participation in the hackathon. They didn't have a direct competitor this weekend. They didn't have a global hackathon to compete with. But, despite being organized and having the funding for it, they didn't have a great turnout. So I just want to make sure that if we're going to move forward with this hackathon in Bogota, that, we get really, put all of our manpower behind it, because I think that competing with ETH Global is going to be a huge competition for us. And I know that, John, you mentioned that, this is kind of specific to DeFi and governance, but I think we need to be completely prepared. And I did speak with Kartik. I did have a chance to see him at the hackathon, and he kind of discouraged us from doing it the same weekend as them, as expected. But I just have a bit of reservations myself. And I just want to voice that on the call right now. But
Melanie, do you know how big the Graph one, how many people actually showed up, or how many they were expecting? When it says it wasn't successful, do you know how big it was roughly?
Well, I know that for the final hackathon, they had 57 submissions, and that was online and in person. So I'm assuming that's a few hundred people, but I think that they expected it to be thousands. They rented the entire
thousands of submissions. Oh no,
no, thousands of participants. So with 50 submissions, that's a few hundred.
Yeah. So that's for something that is niche like the Graph, and maybe a DXDAO and Open Zeppelin hackathon is niche, but it can be marketed as wider than just yeah, I think the graph wants you to build on the graph stuff. This is more DAO and DeFi and governance, just put on by a few more narrow participants. So, but if we're only targeting 200 hackers or 150, 200 hackers, like that, agree that that's not, like 50 submissions would be great. That's plenty. So we have to acknowledge that this is very niche. Like we are throwing a very small focused hackathon rather than a giant global one. So the question is, can we get 150 or 200 awesome hackers there?
What's the like what's it looking like in terms of like prices? Because I've been to a lot of hackathons, and generally speaking, people optimize for prices. So I think like it's just important to think that you're competitive in that way if you're trying to do something at the same time.
Well, so the idea is there are no sponsors, and this is a unique kind, a newer kind of hackathon where everything is built for what a Argentine hacker, the type of hackathon that person would want to go to, basically. And so there are some unique new ideas. Yeah, we can share we made like a deck that's kind of trying to convey some of the new ideas of the hackathon. And that's what we're sharing with some co-organizers, and eventually would be shared with participants as well. So it's hard to explain. It's kind of it's less noise, less distraction, get hackers everything they need brought to them, have lots of different types of prizes rather than just like big money from like all the big DeFi projects in the space, have community, and also vote, have everyone be able to present to, not just the winners present, but everyone presents to everyone, not just to the judges. So there's some unique things that are ideas that are being implemented that really you can't do in a giant hackathon, especially what like ETH Global wants to do, the biggest hackathon ever. Like this is the opposite of that. This is a small, focused, curated one that's really, I believe the goal is to like make it the perfect hackathon for what a dev in Web3 wants.
But what kind of developers do you want to attract? Because I mean, a lot of people see winning prizes as a way of funding their hackathon like lifestyle. So it's just, I think it's just important to kind of have a persona of who's the hacker that goes to this hackathon if you want to compete with the ETH Global one at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I think we've discussed having a focus on DAOs, governance, and DeFi. And I think open source is sort of a key value for many in crypto. And I think, but we're sort of like pretty true to that. And I think Open Zeppelin is also a great like leader in the open source space. So that's one reason they would make a great partner. But also I think I maybe missed something, but is the question whether there would be prizes like for the hackers?
It's just if you're attracting people to your hackathon instead of ETH Global, I would just look at exactly like what's the value prop, what kind of person are you attracting, and why should they do this hackathon instead of the ETH Global? Because I guess they're connected with a lot of like prestige.
Yeah, I mean, they have a big brand. They throw great events. They're going to have a lot of involvement, and I think that the differentiators would be something more intimate with like recognizable, like, I think again, like DXDAO opens up, and I think we can appeal to certain developers who are maybe a little bit more hardcore about open source or governance itself.
Why does it have to be the same days?
Well, the options. So the idea is to do it around DevCon. And DevCon is like 11th to the 14th, I believe, which I think is like a Tuesday through Friday. So really, if you want to do it around DevCon, your only choices are like the weekend before and the weekend after, right? And like I said at the beginning, I think that doing it before is more appealing in the sense that, like, I don't know if you've ever been to DevCon, but it's it's an
No, I've done
intense,
all of them. That's why I'm asking.
yeah, they're
This is-
intense conferences, right? Like, I mean, did you ever do anything after DevCon? Like, I think most people are pretty exhausted by the end of that fourth day. So, you know, it could be the weekend after, but I think that's the reason not to do it the weekend after. Now, that said, if everybody was like, no, we should do it the weekend after, then like we could pursue that.
I just think no matter what, like every time there's a conflicting one at the same time, I don't know a single person who would pick something that's not the ETH one.
Well, I also don't think though that people would do both, right? So
Yeah.
like, I think even if we did it the weekend after, we're still competing with ETH Global, right? Because it's like, right, you know, like, I mean, even if we moved it slightly different dates.
Oh, it's not an ETH. Somebody wrote that it's not an Ethereum Foundation.
ETH Global sometimes gets like conflated a bit with EF. They are, I think they have been funded and they have a very close relationship. They're also like been around a long time and like, you know, have some ETH OGs organizing it. But no, it's technically not like the EF itself that is running ETH Global.
But they did the DAO hacks that I participated in it, which was huge. And I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think it depends on who you want to track, but I think a lot of people do all the ETH ones, and then I think a lot of the really talented hackers, like they just go from ETHChackathon to ETHChackathon essentially.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, they are definitely like the main. I would say they're probably the premier ETH hackathon organizers, and definitely like that's
So yeah, and the question that I'm gonna next time I see Kartik, I'm gonna ask him is, and I'm gonna ask people here too, why, if in this decentralized world, why should everything be decentralized except for the hackathons? Like, why do we want giant centralized hackathons rather than decentralized hackathons?
As in physical, like centralized in a location, or?
Well, ETH Global getting bigger and bigger and bigger is like the most centralized hackathon in the world. Like, why do we want a centralized hackathon? I'm going to ask Kartik that. And so, unless he can give me a good answer, I think it makes sense to, like, everyone shows up to Bogota. There should be like 8 smaller hackathons focused on different interesting things. And you should choose, depending on what you're interested in, which hackathon to go to. Like, this is, I believe, how the future will be. And we're just at the front edge of it, like setting an example almost. That's my view. But
well, I think that would be one reason you would pick a smaller hackathon over ETH Global is, like, in Amsterdam, it was an awesome hackathon, but it's huge, right? Like, you can't even kind of track like who the sponsors are, like, yeah, like, I don't know. It's just not, it didn't feel like a nice, like, small, intimate hackathon, which maybe you would prefer.
I mean, I would just say one thing, like it just requires a lot to facilitate a successful like hackathon, a lot of resources and timing and scheduling. So I guess that's why sometimes you pick a big established brand, because you know they've done it before and they kind of have all those like systems in place that's very like professionalized. But that being said, I think maybe you have a really interesting opportunity if you think about like hacker houses or something like that, because that could be like a unique moat that you could. I know a lot of people really want to live with like builders, so maybe there's something there if you create a smaller atmosphere and get people to maybe co-live. That could be something that they would then choose this over the other hackathons.
I do also like the idea of a hacker house. I just think Bogota may not be the place to do it. Probably in bigger cities, but I think that's an idea we should think about moving forward as well. Maybe in a place like Paris or Amsterdam, but maybe not Bogota.
cool. Well, all really good thoughts. If you're interested in any of the things we talked about, yeah, also check out the DoinGud proposal. We have done some due diligence, but the DoinGud investment proposal from DX Ventures, it's proposed by their team. It's a little bit, it probably needs more discussion. There's a bigger question of like, does DXDAO want to like dive deeper into the NFT related world and how DXDAO could leverage that platform, and if that's good for DAOs and DXDAO in general. And also, the coolest thing about it is there's a social good element. And so if we're going to do some NFT stuff, having the social good element is a really good positive. But if you have any thoughts about that, check that out. Otherwise, we can bring that to the forum. And then I don't know Dave's question.
I just had a quick question about the DoinGud proposal. I think I briefly checked out what they wrote. Would it be for a grant for 100K? That's correct? Or how much is
Yeah.
it? Okay. Is there any way we could budge on that price, or is it, that cost, or is it?
Well, I think you can probably invest as much as you want at the given valuation, probably, if they have space. But my question was more I don't think we have time anyway to go into it now, but I think most previous projects we funded were up and coming projects that just looking for funding early stage, right? I think this is a second or third round for them. So I'm just wondering if it makes sense for DX Venture to participate in second or third rounds where we'll get probably nothing and it's not really related to our product suite,
Totally. I agree that this is outside of the main stated goals of what DX Ventures and DXDAO is looking to support and invest in. There is some element of if DXDAO want to have some ownership or investment in something NFT related, which it doesn't, if we think that NFTs are a key piece of the DAO ecosystem, and will be beneficial to DXDAO and other DAOs. And so you could argue there is some connection there, but this opportunity may not be the most appropriate one. And it's not something that DXDAO as a community even has talked much about. We have done very little with NFTs in so far. We've done a little bit, but that's almost a bigger question that should be addressed before deciding to make investments into that space for sure. Does it benefit the DAO ecosystem, or is it outside of that? Is a good question. So ask you can ask those in the channels or the chat or in the forum, and we can continue that discussion. But we're over time, so thanks everyone for coming. We can probably stop the recording and have a great week, and talk to everyone soon.